Here's everything you need to know about the most popular drinking game across college campuses, Beer Die, from the perspective of someone who played at UC Santa Barbara. The game is played with two teams of two on opposite sides of a table. The point of the game is to throw a dice exceptionally high into the air and have it land on your opponent's side of the table. As the die bounces off, the defending team plays defense by trying to catch the die with one hand. If they can't catch the die, the throwing team gets a point.
God damn it!
The game is played to 12 points, win by 2, and that's it. Thanks for watching. No, I'm just kidding. Over the years, this game has evolved into an extremely complicated sport, and there are a ton of variations, added rules, and different ways that people play. So for the rest of this video, I'll explain all the intricacies of the game, including the other ways you can score points, like sinks, tinks, and FIFAs. I'll go over rules that some people play with, and then lastly, I'll go over some rules of etiquette. So let's get started. So each player has their cup at the corner of the table. If you toss a dice and it lands directly in your opponent's cup, or off a bounce, this is a sink, and your opponent finishes their drink and you get 3 points. And often you get assigned the table. If you toss a dice and it bounces off your opponent's cup and onto the ground, this is a tink and you get 2 points. Another way to score points is by capitalizing on your opponent's bad tosses. If the throwing team misses the table, the catching team can FIFA the die to their partner and catch it for a point. A FIFA is keeping the die up using any soccer legal part of the body. But over time, FIFAs became too easy, so they evolved into ladder FIFAs. In this version, after scoring the first FIFA point, you must pass the die back and forth to score a second, and then 3 times for a third. A more extreme variation is field goal FIFAs. If the throwing team misses the table, the catching team can FIFA the die off the table and through their opponent's cups. However, the throwing team can play defense, and if they catch the die, no point is awarded. But if they miss, the FIFA team scores. Essentially, if you miss the table on your toss, you've got one last chance at redemption if you've got hands. Alright, next up we've got some controversial rules. First one is field goals. For this rule, if the die bounces back through the throwing team's cups and hits the ground, some people count this as 2 points. Another controversial rule is screens and picks. Some people play where if the die bounces back towards the thrower side of the table, the throwing team is allowed to set a pick at the corner of the table to be an obstacle for the catching team. These two rules are known to be a little controversial, but I'd love to hear your take in the comments below whether you would play with them. Lastly, let's go over the rules of etiquette. So Beer Die is considered to be a gentleman's game, and just like any sport, it's a lot more fun when the game is won with skill instead of rules or technicalities. So the first rule of etiquette is height. Remember when I said the goal of the game is to throw the dice exceptionally high? If your toss is low, your opponents can call height while the die is in the air, and the toss doesn't count. Essentially, you want to make sure you're throwing it unquestionably high. You shouldn't have to make someone call height more than twice. Right, next up is line. So at the start of the game, decide if the line in the middle of the table is good, no good, or a retoss. I've always played line is no good. The next one is traps. So when you catch the die, you want to make sure it's a clean one-handed catch. If you trap it against your body, it's a point for the other team. And honestly, if you catch it anywhere too close to your body, it usually ends up with an argument like this. Another rule of etiquette along the same lines is catching over the table. After the dice hits the table, you have to let the die come off the side before you try to catch it. Alright, the next rule of etiquette is FIFAs with your knee or head. So when it comes to partner FIFAs or ladder FIFAs, it's commonly frowned upon to use your knees or head. Okay, next up is bobbles. It's sometimes also frowned upon to bobble the dice up for an easy catch. And last up, we've got self-sinks. If you throw the die up and it happens to land in your own or your partner's cup, it's considered a self-sink. Each house has a different punishment. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, now before you go off and start hucking cubes, I'm going to mention that each house has a different way of playing. A lot of rules depend on your location, your skill level, and how you decide to play. For instance, at UCSB, I played sinks are 2, tinks are 1, field goal FIFAs, and no picks. A lot of people feel really strongly about the rules they play with, but I'm not going to tell you this correct way to play. Anyways, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any other rules that you play with, let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the subscribe button. And that's it. Die up.